Hi everybody, welcome to Cloud Direct webinar. As you can see, based on the accelerating of your Microsoft Cloud journey with exclusive resources. I will give it another kind of 30 seconds or so just before people start, for the remainder to join in. But just by way of introduction, my name is Dan Robbins. As you can see, I've got a fairly long title there. It's kind of UK Sales Manager and Senior Enterprise Sales Consultant for within the professional services sector. I've been here for about 6 years now, and of course, you know, working side by side with Microsoft, we find that the resources that are available are in some cases unknown to some of the customers that we work with, but to be honest, are probably one of the key areas that allows you to, I suppose, de-risk your project, but also accelerate that at all levels. So the purpose of today is really just to kind of give you a bit of an overview and an understanding of what is available to you wherever you are on your cloud journey, and hopefully from that will allow you to actually maybe unblock some of those stuck projects that you've been looking to try and either finish off or start. We can hopefully have that conversation towards the end. We'll see my details, and you can kind of ping me or anyone in the team to kind of help pick that up. Okay, we'll get started. So the agenda today is, I'm going to try and keep it fairly light for a Thursday morning. If like me, you are on dry January, hopefully you're feeling a little bit more kind of firing in all cylinders. And if not, well, you're the lucky ones and had some fun over the past few weeks. But anyway, the agenda today is we're going to start off with talking about the qualifying workflows that we at Cloud Direct can help you with, and talking about those, of course, those crucial end-to-end resources wherever you are on your cloud journey. I will touch on what the actual funding pots look like, and in terms of kind of the AMMP and ECIF. Of course, kind of finish off with a couple of customer stories and next steps. There is a chance to kind of post any questions in the Q&A tab. So if you've got any questions that you want to kind of ask me, either, of course, please ping me on here now so we can kind of deal with these live, or by all means, as I said, you'll have my details at the end and you can kind of ping me separately and we can jump on a call to help. So, talking about kind of our focus solution plays. So at Cloud Direct, I mean, obviously the key one there is kind of the Azure migration, but crucially as well beyond that is the Azure optimization piece, and working with the new mantra from Microsoft of do more with less. One of the fastest growing kind of sectors we've seen, verticals we've seen over the last kind of couple of years has been around the app mod and DevOps, security and compliance, of course, and then the final piece around the kind of their endpoints and hybrid working. So, as you can imagine, all of our projects that we deliver kind of follow a very standard kind of best practice approach, starting from that initial workshop and actually understanding what it is you're actually trying to achieve, finishing up with the migrating deploy, and of course kind of bolting onto our managed services towards the end. What I wanted to do is try and pick two of our key areas that I think kind of most people that will be watching this webinar are looking to try and achieve, and that starts of course with the Azure piece and the app mod. So looking at the app modernization. So of course the first piece is that workshop. This is fully funded and allows probably for about an hour or 2 hours, however long you really need, for us, myself and the rest of the team, the sales team, as well as the right people from our business to really understand exactly what it is you're actually trying to do, understand what your application does, how it could run in Azure, and of course understand the benefits of doing such. And as I said, that is a fully funded workshop, so there's no charge to you on that piece. The next bit is where we kind of get into a bit more into the detail. So of course the discovery piece, we can get access to funding and tooling to allow us to understand more in depth the technical aspects of the application itself, understand where it is at the moment to be able to move into Azure, or what actually needs to be done to allow it to move into Azure. That's kind of together, I suppose, allows us to build out a full picture for you to present back to yourself, the boards, whoever else needs to be kind of part of that process, to really kind of show you exactly what that looks like. What's it going to cost you to run in Azure, how much that's actually going to be in terms of kind of the migration and the effort for Cloud Direct, but also giving you kind of those high level designs in terms of the moving on to kind of the landing zone and actually what that looks like, as well as the security and everything else in between. Again, as I said, we can kind of get funding and access to free tooling to allow us to do that. Moving on then, we look at kind of into building out the platform as in best practice. So making sure that we've got the landing zone, of course, adhering to all of the CAF frameworks and WAF frameworks and all the other acronyms that Microsoft love to throw about, to ensure that the platform the foundations are there ready to be built on. And then, of course, moving on to the most important bit, especially when it comes to the application side, is the POC or a pilot. And I'd like to just briefly stop there a second, but essentially what we're trying to say here is that, if you have an idea or if you have a challenge that you're looking to overcome, we can utilise the right funding pots and resources from Cloud Direct to sit with you, understand what those problems are, start building out what that actual move and migration actually looks like, what the end state is going to look like, but then of course actually prove that it works. And this is all funded by us and Microsoft, eliminating that risk. So if you want to, I always kind of say, it's kind of a fairly bit of a no-brainer really. If you want to get moving and actually try something out, then let's do it. Of course, beyond that, then we can start moving into the design and actually then really get under the skin of things and make sure that we move from that kind of that POC and pilot into a production. So that's bolting on things like security and looking at the BCDR and continuity and everything else. Once we kind of put that forward, we can then agree on everything and everyone's ticked off. We can then move into the migration and get your apps up and running and secure up and running in Azure as it should be. For the Azure migration, the same sort of approach, as you can tell. So it's the first step is about understanding what you've actually got. What is it that you're actually trying to move to Azure? And again, we can utilise funding for that to cover the professional services costs, and we can also use the tooling from Microsoft, whether it's kind of Move Air or Cloud Pilot or whatever that could be, to actually really understand exactly what it is you're trying to, what it is we're trying to move, and then building out the design, the migrational effort, what the cost is going to be, but actually what a true accurate cost is going to look like. Because of course you're not going to lift everything into Azure. You want to make sure that actually what you're putting in there is right for the business, and actually, of course, built to best practice and utilising all of the more modern technologies out there to help reduce your costs and be more performant. Again, we're looking to kind of making sure that we can utilise funding to then build out the platform and the foundational landing zone in place, making sure that's there. And if need be, we can then move on to the POC and pilot stage, exactly the same as we were with the applications. Typically, to be honest, when it comes to Azure migration, we very rarely do kind of the POCs and pilot unless there are some certain workloads in there that they're unsure that are going to work and eliminate that nervousness. That's more kind of time for the applications and to actually prove that it works, to take that to the board. And then beyond that, of course, we move back into the design phase, really kind of getting into that low level, making sure that everything is exactly where it needs to be, building in the right security and backup BCDR planning, and then onto the migration. So as you can see, it's across all of those areas that we need to look at, there is funding on every single layer to allow you to kind of reduce that risk and hopefully speed up the migrations. But also wherever you are on that journey, if you've already completed the discovery and assessments, you can then move forward, and we can help you with that, with the migration itself. So this is just a little bit of an overview of exactly what that funding looks like and kind of what's available. So, as I said, in terms of the discovery pieces, in the solution assessments, there's access to all of the tooling, but also there's up to around $10,000 worth of funding on that. In terms of the landing zone, again, there's up to around $5,000 worth of funding. And for the POC and pilot, again, up to $15,000 worth of funding. I'm always going to say up to, I'm never going to guarantee it, because of course it's down to kind of, you need to put some skin in the game, so it's understanding exactly what it is you're going to be moving across. What does that look like over those 12 months in terms of the Azure consumption, and then we can work out exactly what that funding amount looks like. But of course, in this climate at the moment, any funding that we can put towards it, of course, is going to be a good one. And then onto the migration piece. Again, there's two different types of funding pots that we can go after. There's the one which is my favourite at the moment, which is the partner-led AMMP, which is through ourselves. We kind of follow through our partner portal and fill out the details, and we can get access to the funding relatively quickly. Typically turns around in a couple of days. Obviously, there is within that speed, that also means that there are kind of a small, medium, or large amounts that you can go after, which are fixed. However, if we're looking at a slightly, we want to kind of really maximise this as much as we possibly can, and also have the luxury of the time to apply and go through the formal routes, we can go for the formal AMMP process, which essentially gets you 20% back of the first year's consumption. There are some slight caveats in that in terms of when we apply and when that year starts, because you get the funding amount from the day that you start consuming that amount. So when the project ends. But don't worry about that. That's exactly what we're here for. We want to try and maximise this as much as possible, and of course we do this day in, day out, so we know exactly how to do things correctly. Moving on to some of our customer stories. So these are 3 accounts of ours that we've been working closely with for a number of years, especially kind of Mishcon de Reya. Mishcon was probably one of the first ones that I actually worked on in terms of kind of the AMP funding that was available, and it really did show how much it benefits and helps the projects along, and also allows you to kind of take projects into your board or into the C-level and make yourself look good, right? Because you're proposing about doing quite a large scale, expensive project. You've got to be fighting for budget across all of the other departments that are there, but of course yours comes with the added benefit of actually being able to reduce that upfront cost in terms of professional services, which is typically the most amount at the start. To allow your project to actually move forward. With Mishcon, we actually managed to find enough funding to cover, I think, almost all of it, or all of it, in terms of their migration itself. So of course the only kind of remaining cost for that was obviously the consumption itself, and the ongoing managed services and everything else. With Barrett, we're starting that process, where we have we initially did a discovery and assessments review probably about last year, but of course times change when it comes to technology, so we want to make sure that we're going to looking to kind of drive that again, just to make sure we've captured everything. So we've got that starting currently as we're going on at the moment, and then the next step will be, once we've actually worked out exactly what that move looks like and what their consumption is going to be, we can then kind of align the right amount of funding to them to ensure that we can reduce that for them. And of course AI Corporation, probably one of our closest accounts, and it's an account that we have done, well, as a partnership we have done so much. It's great to see that actually the funding amounts that we have managed to kind of get them to accelerate their journey has really helped. And if you combine that with the amount of funding, the amount of money that we've found through our optimization that was built in within our managed services, it's a really great story to tell. We do have actually a video case study on this that I'm going to be sharing. There should be a link popping into the chat as we speak, but we'll also be sending this out after the webinar. Really would kind of suggest taking a look and actually seeing kind of some of the great work in there, because it's that's the same sort of approach that we can take to all businesses and really kind of benefit your organisation. And I guess the final piece really here is why am I sat here talking about this? What have I what gives me the right to? And Cloud Direct have been a big player with Microsoft over the last kind of 6 years. We've been going since 2003, and we've always been kind of Microsoft first organisation. But the beauty is that we were awarded the Azure Expert MSP badge probably about 5 years ago now. And we were the first business in the UK to actually go through the audit and pass, and to gain the accreditation. I would implore you to have a quick look up at what the Azure Expert MSP badge means. But I would say, if you're looking at any type of Azure project, whether it's migrations, optimization, DevOps, security, you should be working with us as your partner. If that's us or another, we are the guys and the other partners out there are the ones that really do understand it and are able to actually deliver it properly and build to best practice. Probably the one that we're most excited about and proud about over kind of recent months is that we were told a couple of months ago that we were the Global Partner of the Year finalists for the solution assessments. So kind of taking your mind back to what I was saying a few moments ago, that first step of that initial discovery and assessment, we were the global runner-up. So I'd like to say, and then I think that the winner was actually from Australia. So I'd like to say that we're probably the best in the Northern Hemisphere in terms of our assessments. I'll probably be pinged on that shortly, but anyway. And beyond that, it's not just enough to be able to have those, Azure Expert MSPs and Partner of the Year finalist awards. It's actually about kind of having the know-how about the various different verticals that we offer. So as you can see on the right-hand side, the number of different advanced specializations that we've got as well. And of course, there is an ever-growing list. So, next steps. I'd really be keen to talk to you further about this and understand exactly where you are on your journey, for us to hopefully align the right type of resource to you to allow you to accelerate any of your upcoming projects. There are some generic details on there. You can find me, of course, on LinkedIn, Daniel Robbins, and any of the team. Please do kind of reach out to us. And it'd be great to understand where you are and where we can help. But thank you very much indeed for taking part in this webinar. Hopefully that was nice and short for you, so you can kind of get back to your work or go and grab another coffee before the next meeting. But thanks very much indeed. You take care and speak soon.